It's my sponsor, Muay Nation, and Onyx MMA in Singapore. And this is my fight against Nong Benz up in the new boxing stadium in Chiang Mai called Chiang Mai Boxing Stadium. That was Dang in my corner just now. I'm excited to have him in my corner again. He's been in China for about 6 months. So the last time I was fighting up in Chiang Mai, he wasn't there. I've had his son in my corner a few times. Tor, he's awesome. But fighting Nong Benz is really good. She and I have had the same opponents for quite a while now. But she was kind of a big up-and-coming name when I was still in Chiang Mai, and then she has just kept rising. She's been in these 50 kg tournaments against the top girls up there, and she fought Fa Chang Rai for the northern title at 105 pounds. And Fa won that fight, which means that Nong Ben is basically the first contender. So fighting her is a stepping stone for me to being able to fight the northern title holder. So while I felt really good about this fight, there was a little bit of pressure just because the outcome had very different consequences in terms of what my next opportunity would be. You can see the stands are pretty empty back there. This stadium's customers tend to be busloads of Chinese tourists. And that's not unusual for stadia all around Thailand. The big ones in Bangkok are like that as well. I think they do some kind of package deal so that it's part of a tour and they just bus people in. But I guess it depends on which day of the week you're there and how many people are showing up, because the last time I fought here it was pretty full. But tonight it's clearly very empty. It's a little bit strange when it's all one tour because they won't necessarily stay for the whole show. So all of a sudden, after like the third fight, 100 people get up and leave. It's very weird. But I didn't really mind fighting in a pretty empty stadium. I've, been to a lot of different places, and we were the first fight of the night, so I wasn't sure if people would come later or not. It doesn't really matter. But it's a pretty ritzy stadium. It's nice. It's the promoter from Channel 7, so it's got a good name to it. And there's some pretty good fights, pretty good fighters up there. And I was fighting with my new Mongkon. I just had this made. And those are my new Guangchon fight shorts, fighting beetles. So in round 1, I had completely not thought to myself to note whether Nong Ben was southpaw or not, when I'd seen very short clips of her fighting before. And she'd fought a girl from Lana Muay Thai who's much bigger than both of us, 60 kilos, maybe a month before or something, and I just noted how aggressive she was, not that she was southpaw, but I picked it up pretty quickly when the fight started. And we both weighed in at 48 the morning of this fight. Not at the same time, I didn't see her do it. I was a little bit under 48, but she kicks really hard. She's in the top 5 hard kickers of people I've faced, which is really impressive given that she is actually small. She's like probably 50 kilos walking around. She's very tall, so I was trying to cut off her size and her reach advantage, but she knows where her range is and she's really good at staying in it. Her punches are pretty strong. She nailed me right on my newest scar. And I was a little worried it would open up, but it didn't, which was really nice. I had just gotten my constellation of 8 Sakyant the day before this. Definitely felt that kick. So here, just trying to shut it off, get in close. And I'd seen her fight on the same card as me maybe 2 years ago. And in that fight, she grabbed onto this girl and landed like 20 knees in a row. Like she was just doing bag work. So I was prepared for her to be a knee fighter. But in this first round, she was mostly just showing me how awesome she is at her own range. She's good at what she does when she's in her comfort zone. So here, just trying to impose myself a bit. I was trying to bat over her right jab, like push it down and then punch. And I just wasn't stepping in hard enough. So I was batting it down, which was good for timing, but not getting the punch in. So after being like stuck on the porch, being like, wow, she kicks hard, I finally started coming in. in the second round a little bit better. Here, just eating them and coming in a little bit more. And here she does this beautiful long clinch. This is all her at the moment. Totally unable to get around that. Trying to take out her legs a little bit. Just anything to hit her and close the distance. She's using her height really well there. And trying to get around, choosing some things that don't work. She had a different name in this fight than the name I know her by, which means maybe she just recently changed gyms, but the guy who was in her corner is someone who I know. He's a big name in the female Muay Thai fight scene up there. And he's seen me fight many times before, so he definitely knew what I'm about when setting up this fight. There I'm finally using my teeps as one of my distance closers. I don't really use them so much defensive as offensive. And here I start getting the low clinch, which someone much taller than you is usually a good idea. I think that with Nong Ben's height, the angles she has for clinch are very advantageous to her, so she hasn't had to learn a lot of different techniques or strengths, and so me being strong in my upper body was something she's maybe not as used to. And then when I start bouncing, there's just nothing for it. She can't get those long knees anymore. I nailed her good with that one. And now her backing up looks less like I'm backing up and you have to come get me, and more like, holy shit, I'm backing up. These are tiring her out, even though they're not super strong. See, now I'm getting over that leg, whereas before I couldn't get past it. That was a good one right there. Finished out that round well. So in round 3, I've already established my range now, whereas before it was all her range. And so now she's starting to lean back on her kicks, which is destroying her advantages. So tables are turning. Now I'm doing better. Here she's trying to hang in with the clinch there, but with my bounce and her getting more tired because I keep hitting her, there I kicked out her leg with a low clinch. And here she's just putting herself on the ropes and stopping because she's a little bit tired, whereas before she was using it as like a strategy. There she catches herself from going down by wrapping her leg around my back. That's actually a point for her. Catching her kick there, they're getting slower. Some shaky cam from Kevin. There, landing some knees. Those tire her out. And this ref is good. He lets the clinch go. I had him before. He's very young, but he has a nice hand, I would call it, in his calls. Ripping me off of her when I put her down there. And here I'm starting to throw more weapons. I hit her with that kick, I remember. And here she's just throwing herself back, trying to get her range back. There's my hop. I start landing a lot of knees here. Those are straight. That one's right up in her chest. Can't let her breathe here. She's trying to keep her length going. But I'm actually getting through, landing quite a lot of knees in there. I could feel her getting fatigued. So here I get an 8 count. And I've had trouble coming out of 8 counts before. I look like a total doofus, like power walking, like there. But I kind of picked it up there and looked a little better than I normally do. And here I just go right back to what I was doing before. And the ref watches really close and stops it because she's not fighting back anymore. And referees in Thailand are really good at watching and seeing whether someone is going to fight back, whether they can, and stopping it before it gets to a point. It's one of the reasons people can fight so often in Thailand, is they don't need to get hurt. So it was exciting to win this fight because that meant that I'm still moving upward in how people are looking at me in Chiang Mai, trying to match me. And the guys at this stadium after this fight came up to me and were like, "Can you fight Fa Chiang Rai?" And I was like, "Oh, like yes, I really want to fight her." And they all got really excited and cheered. So like I was saying before, this was a good fight for me as a stepping stone. It got me a scheduled match with Fa Chiang Rai, the champion, who I've actually fought before, so it's very exciting.